Hi, friends. This is Dr. Arpita Gupta Dipalma, and you're listening to my podcast, From Pissed Off to Poised. This show is for busy women physicians and professionals just like you who are ready to take control of their emotions while learning how to excel in juggling all the things they are responsible for in life. It's for overextended mamas who are trying to figure out how to work smarter, not harder. It's for multitasking women who are tired of playing the role of the angry and resentful air traffic controller, who simply want to learn how to create a life that is more calm, intentional, and joyful for themselves. My goal is to help you learn how to eliminate the overwhelm and maintain your composure in high-stress situations that you face with the demands in your day-to-day life. Because I get you guys, this was totally me. You are not alone. I invite you to embark on your journey of transformation with me. Enjoy the listen. Hi guys, welcome to the final episode of From Pissed Off to Poised. I can't believe I'm even saying that, right? It feels so surreal to be here, closing a chapter that's been so meaningful to me, and I hope for you as well. I've really put my heart and soul in these episodes, primarily as an avenue to give people access to learn a lot about what I've learned through my journey of transformation, of self-awareness, of building more intentionality in my life. And over these past 37 episodes, I've really navigated the complexities of anger, overwhelm, perfectionism, and like this pursuit that I have relentlessly of doing it all, that a lot of times many of us have of doing it all. And with these episodes, I've explored how these patterns don't define us, but rather offer us insights into our past experiences and how we cope with those experiences. So today, I want to bring it all home with a simple but powerful theme about making peace with our past and learning to meet ourselves with deep, unwavering compassion where we are. So let's start here. We know that each and every one of us has a story, a past, a collection of moments, both big and small, that shape how we respond to all of the things that we are exposed to in the world around us. And oftentimes the behaviors that we have that we don't love in ourselves, like snapping at somebody, avoiding conflict, overdoing, shutting down, all of these experiences can be traced back to those in our past that might have taught us at some point that this is how we need to behave in order to survive. And I know this intimately myself. I've kind of shared my personal journey with you as the episodes went on. But my own journey began long before this podcast ever existed. As a female physician, as a mom, a daughter, a coach, all of these things, I was constantly shifting gears, managing the expectations of people around me, trying to be everything to everyone, and trying to make it all look like I was doing it effortlessly while being happy all along the way. I recall moments where I felt the weight of those expectations, internal and external. I remember the times when I reacted out of frustration, not understanding what was setting me off, what was activating me in the first place. And with this evolution of myself, with the learnings that I've incorporated into my own daily habits, I have come to realize that these reactions that I had were not always flaws, but more likely signals. Just simply clues pointing to areas that needed more attention, more compassion, and more awareness. This glimmer of awareness that I had, that I wanted to start doing something different, is what led me to do the work, to understand that my anger, my stress, my perfectionism, my fear of being too much or too loud or not enough, these weren't character flaws. They were learned strategies. They were responses to lived experiences, my lived experiences. And building the awareness from there has simply been transformative. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. With doing this work for myself, I could see the patterns. I started to notice them. I started to have awareness as to where they came from, what the origins were. And most importantly, I started to recognize that I had choices available to me for how I wanted to respond. It didn't always have to go back to the reactionary tendency. And this awareness didn't eliminate the challenges that I had, that I still face today, but it did equip me with tools that I now use to help me respond rather than react. And so once I started to understand all of this is when I began to soften. And it's not because it just got so easy for me to do over time, but rather it was because I was no longer fighting myself, no longer pushing myself to show up in certain ways. I was listening to what my body was telling me. I was listening to my inner knowing. And through that, I was building awareness moment by moment, layer by layer of where I was in each scenario in my life, why I was showing up the way I was showing up in scenarios in my life, and then exploring other ways that I could show up instead. And so that's what I really wanted to share with you with this podcast. And I wanted to help you start to learn about how you can also peel back these layers, building that awareness along the way so that you can shift. And I know a lot of it might sound woo, and if you're still kind of stuck in the middle of it and not really sure how you're going to change, expand, build more peace into your life, I want to offer that this is where the intentionality and maybe asking for a guide for someone to help you with this work is going to be super important. Going back to the episodes, I remember in one of them, I talked about how women can be perceived as being badasses, i.e., what the definition of a perceived badass is, and how so many of us are taught to hold it all together, to never let people see us sweat, to keep our emotions hidden, our heads down, and not really experience all the full spectrum of life when we do that. But the truth is that facade is so brittle, okay? And it's just going to crack over time with the pressure. True strength is found in self-awareness. And I said that from day one, the first step to making any change is having awareness. And when we start to have that awareness, we're starting to build our own internal strength, our ability to persevere. Strength is also found in learning to pause. Once we have that awareness, building in that moment for ourselves to reflect, to decide how we want to respond, choosing what we want to do instead of defaulting to our old patterns. Strength is in knowing what activates us without being overcome by it, taken over, not being in control. Strength is in saying, I need a minute without apologizing, not feeling guilty or bad about it. It's simply in leading ourselves first, listening to ourselves and honoring it so that we can lead others then with integrity and grace. And I'm not saying this as though there's no room for error, right? That we're never going to get pissed off, because obviously that's not the case. I've given you guys multiple situations as well for myself where I reverted back to old patterns. I still get caught in those old stories. They still come up in certain scenarios. We all do this. But when it happens now, the difference is I know how to come back to it. Even if I have the reaction, I'm more willing to be vulnerable, to go back and reflect on why I had that quote, quote, setback. I've built that muscle for noticing, for pausing, and then resetting and choosing something differently, which might include also apologizing. And that's truly the gift of the work. If you've been listening to my podcast from the start, or if this is even the first episode that you've landed on, I want to leave you with 3 truths that I've learned over the course of this journey. Number 1, your past doesn't define you, but it does inform you. And when you can understand your past with curiosity instead of filling yourself with shame, you get to reclaim your power. You might realize, oh, this is why I react this way. And it makes sense why I react this way. And just like that, the pattern starts to lose its grip. You might notice that some parts of me seem on edge or just not feeling right, somewhat unsettled, but I can't put my finger on why. And that's where that intergenerational trauma might seep in, where we just simply have awareness around it to notice that what our body is alerting us to is not wrong. We don't need to make it wrong. Simply stated, understanding your history can empower you to make conscious choices moving forward. Number 2, self-awareness is a skill. And like any skill, the more you practice, the easier it gets. And you're not always going to get it right. And knowing that in advance and having compassion is what makes it okay. What matters is that you keep showing up. You keep doing the work with honesty, with humility, vulnerability, and the willingness to grow. It's about being present, noticing the patterns, and choosing how to engage with them. And number 3, compassion is the bridge. One of the most profound lessons has been the power of self-compassion for me, because the fact of the matter is, I didn't even realize how sneaky that negative self-talk can be, where it's there in your mind and you don't even notice it. So recognizing that it's okay to have these moments of struggle, to not have all the answers, to give myself grace in these times is super important. Noticing where the negative self-talk is and then combating it with reality, other sentences that feel a little bit more neutral or even better for you. This shift not only impacted how I relate to myself, but ultimately how I connect with other people. Because when we're frustrated with ourselves and we've overreacted or shut down again, it's so easy to spiral into this judgment, mostly self-judgment. And this judgment keeps us stuck. Whereas if we can move into compassion towards ourselves instead, it moves us forward. Compassion says, of course you reacted that way. You were doing the best you could with what you had, and now you know more. So we're going to try again. It's all okay. We get to be kind to ourselves, acknowledge our efforts, celebrate our progress, and forgive our missteps. This is the voice that I'm still learning to cultivate in myself because it still pops up, that negative Nelly self-talk. So encourage yourself to allow for the positive self-talk, that self-love. You've earned it. You're 100% worthy from day one. You're not broken. You don't need fixing. You're human with a human nervous system, with a history, with responsibilities and relationships and layers of complexity. This is what we're starting to work through when we work on our own awareness. I want to offer that we are fully capable of creating a life that feels less reactive and more intentional. And I talk about this a lot again through the episode and certain specific episodes as well. We're capable of creating a life that honors our emotions without being hijacked by them. We're capable of creating a life that gives ourselves room to breathe, to lead, and just be. So as we wrap up today, I just want to say thank you, truly, for letting me into your ears and your heart over these past few months. Thank you for being brave enough to maybe start this journey for yourself, for doing the messy, beautiful work of becoming who you really want to be. This is the end of this series, and I intended for this to be a short series where I talked about the anger management and the, past experiences and traumas and how that might impact how you're showing up. And then kind of dive into that awareness piece of where the anger reactions come from. For me personally, as I mentioned, I noticed immediately that my anger stemmed from that sense of urgency where I wasn't getting things done in time, or anytime somebody would keep me from getting my things done on time. And so that's where the work with the time management made obvious sense to me to move into the next chapter. So even though this is the end of this journey for me with the podcast and these episodes as a short series, I want to offer that it's not the end of your journey. I want to argue actually that it's just the beginning, where you get to keep practicing your awareness, building the awareness. What am I thinking? Why am I thinking this? How is it making me feel? Is it serving me? Is there a different perspective that I could consider? Okay, so when we practice the awareness, we allow ourselves to have pause. And in that moment, we get to choose with curiosity how we want to show up rather than always needing to be in control. And above all, with all of this, as we extend our self-compassion and grace, we get to forgive. And that's what allows ourselves to show up even more with that vulnerability. Because I know I'm worth it, and I think you know you're worth it. And if you're not quite there yet, I want you to borrow my belief in you that you are. I'm going to leave you with one final assignment, invitation, homework, whatever you want to call it. I want you to take a moment today to reflect, not on what still might need to be fixed or up-leveled in your life, but instead on how far you've come since we started being in each other's ears. I want you to notice any of the patterns that you've picked up on, and maybe the shifts that you've made when you notice those patterns. And even from there, the moments of peace that you have reclaimed just by making these simple shifts. I want you to write them down and celebrate them and use them as your inspiration to keep on moving forward. Because that's how we transform, one simple degree of shift at a time. All right, my friends, I look forward to being in your ear maybe sometime again soon. Please share this episode and the entire podcast with anybody who you know might benefit with these reactionary tendencies, who might be struggling with home, work, life, all the things. Share this with them, and hopefully it will have an impact and a ripple effect. Thanks again for being loyal listeners. If you haven't left a review, please do that. And I look forward to hopefully hearing from you again soon. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of From Pissed Off to Poised. Remember, transformation is a journey, not a destination. So enjoy the ride. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review From Pissed Off to Poised on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback supports my mission to get this podcast out to help other women physicians and professionals like you on their path to creating a more peaceful life with more intention and more joy. I enjoy reading every message I get with your input and feedback on my journey, so keep them coming. And if you have a friend who might enjoy the listen, please share this episode and share with them. Lastly, if you want to learn more about my coaching programs and course offerings, check out my website at www.thoughtworkmd.com. Feel free to reach out to me to learn more about investing in yourself through one-to-one coaching so you can start living the life you've always wanted. This show is for general educational and entertainment purposes only. Life coaching is not a substitute for therapy or medical treatment.